Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Corn Productions Deep Dive TV podcast with my co-host Stacie here to talk about Sullivan's Crossing, Season 3, Episode 8, titled Blindsided. Well, we definitely know the meaning behind that by the end of the episode. The episode's description reads as follows. As Glenn's health worsens, Maggie investigates his condition and suspects a link to a firefighter who fell ill during the lodge renovations. The episode was written by John Galligan and Rosanna Roth, and the episode was directed by April Mullen. And this is her final stint in the series, or the season, I should say. She could direct episodes going forward. But yes, I'm pretty sure that's the end of her block. Before going further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a support-free podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out. And then give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow. And feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, so I forgot to actually take note of the comments that were made, but I know that Skylar Anderson said something. Basically, he said that the pacing for the previous episode, not this week, was definitely odd, but he definitely loves Lola and Jacob together. And Sharon Anderson also said something. I forgot completely what she said. My apologies. I'll bring that up in the next podcast, but she definitely said something.
You just combined their names.
What did I just say?
You said Sharon Anderson.
Oh, well, maybe I'm secretly shipping them. Maybe that's the next. No, that would be Sharon Greenman is what I meant to say.
There you go.
All right. So, Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode?
I mean, this is not a higher ranked episode for me this season. I feel like we hit a good spot in the middle and now we're kind of slowing down again. I feel like we are leaning really heavy into medical drama at this point, which I don't love that.
There were a couple of stories that ended in this episode that I'm actually pretty surprised that they ended in this episode, because this is not the finale. I didn't figure that they would wrap the whole Glenn thing up in this episode. I didn't think that they would bring Helen back in this episode. I thought she would be gone for a little bit longer, if not for the rest of the season. But I was actually surprised where that landed in this episode. I figured that would be a finale thing.
Yeah.
And the whole lodge thing. Well, I mean, I guess we want to get to the opening. We don't want to conclude with the inspector going, "Way to go," and ending with that for the season. But yeah, but then again, at the same time, yes, this is episode 8, but episode 9 and 10 were meant to air as a single entity. The CW is breaking it up, but it was supposed to be a 2-hour finale. That's how it's supposed to be seen. That's how people in Canada saw it.
Well, so, we know that's how CTV aired it.
Yes.
We don't necessarily know what the intent of production was.
Right. Fair enough. But yeah, so I don't really necessarily love what they did with Glenn, mostly because it doesn't feel earned to me in any kind of way. We don't know Glenn enough.
It was too easy.
Yeah.
How we closed up Glenn's story here.
Maybe if we had known this character for more than what we've seen him, for longer, we've gotten to know him a little bit better, add some nuance to his character, instead of just making him evil for most of the times that we see him. This would have resonated with me more, but it just feels like a sudden turnaround for me. They didn't earn this.
Yeah.
I do like what they did with Sully and Helen. I do like some of the other stories, though I don't love, the whole Edna thing went where you hoped it wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not loving what we're doing with Edna right now.
And the whole Cal and Maggie thing, the jury is still out on that one. It seems like we're not necessarily, in this episode, it doesn't seem like we went anywhere with it. But it doesn't seem like we're necessarily in a bad place with it. But are they going to stay there, or are they going to make something more of this in the coming episodes? I don't know. But yeah. Anything else to say before diving in?
Let's go for it.
All right. The episode begins with Cal and Maggie. Cal is about to go help out Rob. He starts to tell Maggie about the finding the letter, which basically chickens out on that one. And he leans out and says they haven't spent a lot of time together. Did you guys not just move in together like yesterday.
Right.
What do you mean you haven't spent enough time together? And I realize this is Cal's lame excuse to cover for what he actually wants to say, but still, it's kind of weird.
And
And
I
they
feel like
plan to
it's
make
also kind of the opposite of
right,
where his head's actually at with the whole thing.
right. And they make plans for lunch later that day. And credits, that was a thrilling cold open if I ever saw one. So Sully is at home. He's sad. He looks at Helen's book and attempts to call her, only getting a voicemail. And then we get to Rob's new place. Cal is helping out there. He ends up broaching the letter thing to Rob, who tells him that she thinks that she is missing medicine more than she's letting on. But Rob tells him that he has no idea when that letter was written. True. And that he shouldn't be worried about some old letter. And I mean, at this point, like, yeah, Rob is completely right here. Like, we don't know when this letter was written. We don't know. I mean, people's priorities do change, as Rob was just saying here. So,
Right. He was like, you used to be a lawyer. You gave that
right,
up. It was Maggie's decision to leave Boston. So why are you questioning it?
right. And at the same time, I'm going to point out that it does not need to be an all or nothing thing.
Yeah,
Like,
my
you just,
note says for the 100th time, she doesn't
right.
have to be in Boston to be a doctor.
Yes. Yes. And nor for that matter does Cal need to be in wherever to be a lawyer. He could do
Yeah,
that
I
here.
mean, you can get certified here. Like, yeah, there's steps. You can't just do it automatically, but
Right.
that shouldn't be too much of an obstacle for you if that's something you want to pursue.
Right. So, Frank and Edna can't read something and she thinks she needs glasses. This could be a throwaway moment, but it's definitely hinting at something that's going to happen later in the episode.
Yeah.
Somebody's looking for busy work to do. He wants to come in and stock shelves or something.
Yeah, because they have more merchandise they have to price and put out, because of
right.
course they do.
And they think this is about Helen. They're pretty much right there. Maggie calls Dr. Rabney, and she basically shoots down some ideas that Maggie has about Glenn. All of her questions that Maggie raises get a no.
Yeah.
Wolf tells Sydney about what happened with Jacob and asks, Sydney asks my favorite question: do you feel any differently now? I said that about the Institute. I find that to be a silly question.
Don't say too much about that because that's not out yet.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm not gonna. The Institute is coming out. Great show so far. Check it out. We're also doing a podcast on that. But it's a silly question to be like, after something happens, oh, do you feel any differently now? Why should you? Like, once you experience something, do you know how you felt before? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I find it a little weird that suddenly like Lola and Sydney are this close, that they're having this like intimate little girlfriend conversation.
That's another thing that Skyway Anderson brings up, that Lola feels like a different character completely. Yeah,
She
they've done a lot of
does.
a definite retcon of her character.
This is 100% not season 1 Lola.
Right. So she doesn't think this can go anywhere because he has to go back to school and she needs to stay here and finish her degree. Edna fills in Maggie about what happened with Helen. Sully is trying to remain busy. Maggie tells him about her consulting gig and that it's for Glenn. I was actually surprised that she even brought this up and told all of them who she's helping out.
Well,
I thought
her
she was
point is she's like, you're gonna find out eventually, so I'd rather you hear it from me.
It makes sense, but I'm actually still surprised that Maggie did that.
It makes sense, but also I'm like, are you allowed to share this information?
Yeah.
Like, we have doctor patient confidentiality that comes into play at some point. Like, she gives them a lot of details about what's going on with him.
Yeah, that's fair. She didn't need to do that. She could have just as easily say, I'm helping Glenn. It's a serious problem. Sully leaves angry. Maggie goes to talk to him, and she said she took an oath to help people. That's not the oath she took. The oath was to do no harm. So it's not the same thing as helping someone that is doing active harm to your family. But I get her point.
I mean, yeah, and she's like, I'm a doctor. I'm going to help if I'm needed to help.
Right. Sully, and she says that Sully would never turn his back on anyone. And Sully just gives in and says, yeah, you're right. That he's on edge today. And that's not the only problem you could have here. But like, I think this scene is resolved a little too easily in my taste, for my taste. Maggie says that she heard about Helen. He says he wasn't expecting her to leave so soon. And she suggests calling her again, because, phones are a thing. And, maybe she just missed the call the first time, and maybe she just hasn't gotten a chance, and, so on and so forth. So she gets a call. Glenn is taking a turn for the worse. Sully says, go help him out. So it's mentioned that Glenn doesn't have any family, though that's somewhat contradicted. He has family. They're just not really talking to him, I guess.
Well,
Specifically,
no, that's what she says. Rabney says they called Glenn's father but haven't heard back from him, and there's no other family members on file.
Gotcha. Maggie goes through the case. No one else at the golf course has had the same symptoms, but he has the same rash as Mark, the firefighter that collapsed in the lodge when she was helping out. They decide to go and talk to him. Rob is ready to call the inspector. Sydney comes back with choices for Rob on decorating, and basically Rob repeats that he wants to get the inspector down there. Cal asks okay, so after this, Cal asks if giving up her modeling career is something that she regrets. And he doesn't explain why he's asking, nor does she ask, which is curious.
Well, he's asking because he's trying to figure out if Maggie regrets leaving her career.
We know that, but at the same time, she doesn't. And I think she would be
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So,
she probably thinks that he actually, is just having a conversation with her about her life because he's trying to connect with her.
I guess. I mean, she is like basically Maggie's best friend.
Right.
But I think she basically says that sometimes she regrets it, she misses it, but she doesn't. Overall, this is her home. Lola goes and visits Jacob. She's got the day off. Jacob puts his computer down and says, no, I'm not busy at all. I'm just working on my thesis. He kisses her and looks like she wants to engage in carnal activities.
Yeah, she's like, aren't you going to invite me in?
Right. Yeah, she specifically asked if Edna and Frank are there, and she's like, oh, good, they're gone. We're going to go hang some curtains now, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Maggie questions Mark. He says he was feeling tired and his stomach was off the day that he ended up having his problems. He mentions working at a landscaping company, which is significant. She takes a look at his rash, and so Maggie is now helping on Mark's case as well. I know that Dr. Rabney cleared that with Glenn, but I don't think it was not mentioned that Mark and Dr. Rabney had the same conversation about Maggie helping out. So that's interesting.
Right. Yeah, I feel like there's some liability issues throughout this whole thing. I understand, the patient cleared you to consult, but shouldn't Rabney be in the room the whole time? Part of the conversation the whole time? Because in this instance, Maggie's not a doctor. She's just helping consult.
In fact, wasn't she supposed to go with her to talk to Mark?
I thought so.
Yeah, let's go talk to Mark, but she's not in the scene.
But we're constantly seeing Maggie doing stuff without Rabney. Like, Rabney should be supervising her every turn.
Yes.
I mean, in this case, Mark knows Maggie. Like, we've seen them interact before, so this could be more just like, hey, I'm talking to you as a friend.
Right. And I think the liability would come into play if, Maggie decided to start prescribing medication, which
sure she can't do that, but I still feel like Rabney should be in the room.
No, I agree with you, but it's not like she's going to perform surgery on him. She's just asking him questions. But Edna's busy at the outpost. People are actually buying things for a change, so I guess they actually.
We have a customer. He asks for a T-shirt. Cal ends up helping him out because Edna's a little overwhelmed. Customer's played by Hank White. He played a casket maker in Titanic: The Aftermath. He was in one episode of Call Me Fitz and a movie called Believe in Christmas.
Oh, okay. So Cal, yeah, like you just mentioned, Cal comes in to help. Maggie didn't tell Cal what he was up to, what she was up to, rather.
Yeah,
She
and
does know,
remember they were supposed to meet here for lunch. So Cal's here to meet her for lunch and she's not here.
she does know about Glenn, though, right? That she's
Right,
helping on
but
that.
he didn't know she was going back to the hospital today.
All right.
And he basically the problem is she blew off their lunch date.
Yeah. It's Cal turns to help with the busy work. He's going to help out at the lodge now, kind of like Sully is. Sully comes home and calls Helen and actually does manage to get a hold of her. I was actually surprised by that. I really did not think we were going to see Helen in this episode. She tells him that there's a producer who wants to turn her book into a series in Dublin, which is where she's going to be needed for a while. And she ends up hanging up, and basically she says she's going to call him later.
Yeah, she says she's going to call him later, so he doesn't even really have a chance to like respond to any of this, react to it.
Right.
But Helen, I want to tell you this: Nova Scotia is a really great place to film TV shows.
Absolutely.
You don't
She
have
should.
to go to Ireland to film your show. Nova Scotia's got great filmmakers, great setting. You could definitely do it right here.
Yeah, and you can recruit some of these actors that are in this episode. Um, so Cal is at his home looking at Maggie's diploma, and he seems worried. Maggie returns home, and Cal offers to help. I don't know what I'm referring to there. Offer to help with what?
Well, he says, "Is there anything I can do to help you?"
Oh, okay, okay.
Just because she's like, "Oh, I don't know what to do about Glenn, and I'm overwhelmed," basically.
And she doesn't know how any of this connects yet. Maggie asks him to check in on Sully because he's all down because of the whole Helen situation.
Yeah, and I think she's feeling guilty that she moved out, and maybe she's worried she about leaving him alone at this point.
Cooper, meanwhile, is getting shit from his boss about the whole lodge thing. Not Ref, or actually, still got it wrong. Rafe steps in to take the blame. Cooper Cooper wonders why he did that, and Rafe says they are a team and should have each other's backs, and Cooper appreciates it.
Yeah, and this is the fire supervisor boss dude that we met before. His name's Danny. We last saw him in an episode 204. Again, he's played by Glenn Lefchuk.
Cal stops by Sully's under the guise of filling him in on the lodge, but really he's there to check in on him because Maggie asked him to about the whole Helen situation. Sully explains the situation. Sully asks everyone, Sully says that everyone leaves sooner or later, and he thinks that ship has sailed. He doesn't think this relationship is going anywhere. Cal suggests that he could go to Ireland, and he says he doesn't want to get in the way of her career. Maggie reveals to Frank and Edna what did she reveal?
She's giving him an update on Glenn, how she thinks
Oh,
it's related to Mark, but she doesn't know why. Again, she's spilling all of this medical shit about these people that she really shouldn't be doing.
yeah, that in itself could invite a lawsuit, but she's stumped. But then Jacob and Lola come in and reveal the testing of the lichen revealed arsenic, and it's probably from some pesticide, the kind that landscaping companies use. And that rings a ding 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 bell. And that's where Dr. House would get that far away look and run off because he solved the case. But
I mean,
anyway,
that's
that's
basically what Maggie did.
yes. And so this both explains what happened to Mark and what happened to Glenn as well. So Dr. Radney tells Maggie that the pesticides were recently banned and were being sprayed on the golf course by Mark. And since Glenn was on the golf course the most, he had the most exposure. Though I'm still confused as to why no one else would get sick from this situation.
Well, I think that's what they're saying is like, oh, these two got sick first because they had the most exposure. The person spraying
So,
and the person, because Glenn's living at the golf course. So he's 24/7 there.
yeah, so that definitely suggests that more people will end up getting sick if they don't do anything about the situation.
Right.
Jacob is suggesting to Lola that he might try to finish his master's degree here if she wants him to stick around. They kiss, and basically Jacob's like, "Is that a yes?" And of course, it's a yes that she would prefer him do that. So
Yeah.
maybe
So
he'll stick around next season.
he maybe. I mean, that would be good for Lola because we wanted,
Yeah.
her to have somebody that's not Cal.
or
This is
Andrew
gonna
for
be
that matter.
well. I was really pushing her and Andrew together, but Andrew's gone now. He's not a problem, and we like Lola now.
Yeah.
So I no longer wish that upon her. um, I was thrown out a little bit because she's saying to Jacob, "Oh, now that the results of the Lycan came back, I guess you're gonna leave." I thought he's supposed to be here for the whole summer, and he's been here for like a couple weeks at most.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not just here to, like examine the lichen. That's just like a hobby of his,
Well,
basically.
no, I mean that's what he's doing, but
Right,
he's here to work on his thesis. It wasn't about like let me take one sample and get him tested.
right.
Like
No,
you're supposed to be here for like this whole project, and they said it was going to take all summer, and we might be in the fall, but
who knows where we are? We could be 10 years from now for all we know.
but I definitely don't think he's been here for more than a week or two.
So Cal happens to go to the lodge. Sydney is outside. The inspector is there. And he comes out and he says he was surprised to hear from them so soon. He has no idea how they managed to get the work done so quickly. That's usually not a good sign. But the inspector says, you guys did a great job and gives them green light to continue the renovations. And that's the end of that.
That's the end of that. We no longer have the oops, we're falling down. We don't have a building problem.
Right. Edna talks to Frank about traveling. I don't know why Frank acts like this in this scene. Like, why is he so against traveling? He's basically like, well, that doesn't seem like slowing down to me. And then he basically poo-poos the whole idea of traveling. And Edna's basically like, oh yeah, sorry, stupid idea. And she goes away.
Yeah, she is half-heartedly agreeing with him. We can tell that she wants to do more with their lives. Her whole thing is about I want to connect and spend time together and enjoy our lives while we still can. And he's like, nah, I'm too old for that.
Right. So Maggie talks to Glenn, who wants to thank him. He says he isn't a bad person. He spent his entire life trying to prove himself to a father that was never there for him. He thought if he made enough money, he might get like attention from him. But his father didn't even bother to return his calls. And basically, Glenn is like, I want one last favor from you. I know you've done enough for me, but I want one last favor. The favor is getting Sully to go down there to talk to Glenn. Sully is reluctant, but he goes along with it because he asked him to. And she's basically gonna go check on Mark. He's like, "What? You're not coming with me?" He's like, "I think you can handle him. I think it's okay." So he goes into the room. Glenn tells Sully that he had no idea about the pesticide use, and basically Mark does not. I mean, sorry, not Mark. Sully does not believe him. He says he no longer intends to build luxury resorts, and he's instead making it a conservation area. But there's just one little hitch, one little what's the word I'm looking for?
One catch is the word he used.
One cat. Yes. And so he's like, oh, typical. And he says he wants to put Sully in charge of this land. And that is the end of that. Okay.
And suddenly, Glenn's a good guy. He's giving up this development that he's already probably spent millions of dollars on. We're just not going to build it anymore. We're going to turn the land into conservation. Sully's going to be in charge of it, and Glenn's going to go just live in his golf course and never be seen again.
I guess so. Like this is what drives me bonkers about this series is the tendency to just completely throw away stories that they haven't fully played out. We haven't spent enough time with Glenn to end the story like this. Like if we had spent more time developing his character, maybe eventually we could have gotten to this. But well, nope, we're just done with that. I mean, unless we're gonna have him be an antagonist next season for some reason.
I don't feel like it. I feel like he's better. Glenn is suddenly a
Right.
better human being. Not that I thought he was doing anything too terrible in the first place. He was running a business. Like
Yes. I mean,
but,
other than the pesticide use,
which again, it wasn't his company using the pesticides, it was the landscaping company.
I mean, he was a bit of a shady guy with the whole way he treated Sully. But
Sure,
other than that,
he was a jerk,
yes.
but he wasn't like doing anything illegal. You know what I'm saying?
Or
He
no,
was just trying to run a business.
he was just a garden variety ass, not
Right.
really super evil.
My note says, okay, were we visited by three ghosts?
I
Like,
guess so.
what happened that Glenn suddenly like, I'm gonna give up everything and put you in charge, and that's that.
It's because he got sick and Maggie cured him, so now he's a good guy,
Yeah,
is
but
what they're
that's
telling us.
too big of a turnaround.
Yes, yes.
I feel like a more understandable resolution would have been like, let's work together on the scope of this business. Let's you know, reduce how many trees we're cutting down. Let's do some profit sharing and make our businesses work together so we're not competing against each other. Not like, oh, I'm just shutting down. Bye.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. By the way, I would really like to see the episode where Glenn is visited by three ghosts. I would totally watch that episode. Maybe we can see that next episode or next season as a flashback episode.
Let's see, three ghosts. Taylor Olson has to play one of them.
Yep. I would say Reed
Um,
Price, but he already has a role in the series.
Reed Price
Bob Man.
is pretty here already. I mean, Bob Man exists in this series too. I guess everybody's already here.
Yeah, yeah. All right. If you have any other ideas, let me know. So, all right. So Sydney and Rob sit in the lodge steps. She's suggesting holding events here. She's talking about like having weddings, and Rob is like, "Oh, you trying to tell me something?" And she's like, "No, no, marriage is something I'm totally not into." And this comes back to Rafe. Rob thinks it's time to address that with Rafe, before he proposes. And you know what? That's not an unreasonable point from Rob. If this is how
Yeah,
you feel and you're in a serious relationship, that's definitely something that needs to come up.
right.
Like that's the conversation you have.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so you're not like turning him down like when he proposes and he thinks it's about like the fact that you don't love him or something along those lines. All right, so Cal returns to Maggie with some champagne to celebrate her success. She says, "You got to enjoy the wins in life." And Cal puts up Maggie's diploma, but that's all behind her, she says. And, Cal basically says, you worked really hard for that diploma. It's not something you should just stick in a box.
Yeah. He
Is that
says
it?
it'll always be a part of you.
Right. So, and she looks thoughtful here. Is this something that's going to continue, or is this the end of this story?
We've been saying since season one, she needs to be a doctor at Timberlake. So
Yeah.
can we please
Yeah.
get there already?
Frank and Edna want to celebrate Sully's win with dinner. Frank is happy. He doesn't have to do grocery shopping. He's specifically like, does that mean I have to go to the grocery store? Because that's been an ongoing subplot throughout the season.
Yeah, it was Frank. We could have a whole episode of that. Frank just shopping.
Right. By the way, are we gonna get potatoes this time? I'm just asking. Anyway, Helen calls with. What were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Okay. Helen calls with an offer, letting him know her feelings. Her offer is for him to go to Ireland together for a nice adventure. She asks him to think about it. He says he doesn't need to. She instantly acts like she's being rejected. And I'm kind of curious if she thought the answer was going to be no all along. But
Oh, she definitely thought I don't need to think about it means that's a ridiculous idea. I don't even need to entertain.
right. But no, it's actually the complete opposite. He says that he would love to go to Ireland with her. So that's interesting. Sydney returns home to Rafe, who's cooking, probably in reaction to Cooper's story in the last episode. She tells him about the no marriage thing. He doesn't really take it well, but he says, "Okay, that's something I really need to process." And I guess that's a reasonable reaction.
It's a reasonable reaction, but you can tell it's going to be a problem for
Yeah.
him.
Mhm.
Um, Poor
By the way,
Sydney and Rafe have had nothing but problems.
I'm not unsympathetic to Sydney's point of view here. I think it's not necessarily necessary to have a piece of paper to demonstrate your love and the fact that you need to stay together forever. or want
Sure.
to. Um,
But also I feel like although they're having this conversation right now, I don't feel like they did it right.
I mean, they never do. These
They
two do
never
not.
do. No. He's cooking dinner. He's like, he literally says, like, I'm trying to show up. I'm trying to do better. Um, and she starts off okay. She says, we've never really talked about where we want this relationship to go. Well, that's because you haven't like been in a relationship that's functioning for more than 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, and his response is, I want to give you everything you've ever dreamed of. Now she says this really, really wrong. Her next line is, I don't really want a big wedding.
Yeah.
No, Sydney, that's not what you're trying to say.
What you're trying to say is, I don't want a wedding at all. I don't want to get married. I don't.
Right.
I don't want paper to say that we're going to be together forever. I don't. That's not something I need.
Yeah,
But
she
that,
doesn't explain it the way she means it. Like she goes back from that to be like, I mean, I don't want to get married. But she doesn't necessarily be like, this is my philosophy of life and I want our relationship to continue growing and I'm happy that you're putting more effort in. I just don't want to, you know, get married. She
right.
doesn't present it nicely. She's not putting a bow on it. She's not telling him she's invested in the relationship. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And he's just like, oh, so you're never want to get married? And she's like, nah. Like that's her whole response.
Yeah. Her attitude in this scene is definitely weird. If she's trying to say, "Hey, I love you. I want to be with you, but I just don't want to get married ever," that's not how she presents it for sure.
Right. She's missing some beats in how these words should flow.
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah, I need to process this
Right.
because he doesn't feel the same way. Like this needs to be a bigger conversation on both ends, like a whole conversation, not a by the way and then pass the salt.
I mean, we pretty much demonstrate all season long that these two do not communicate very well together at all.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, maybe they could use some couples counseling. And given the fact that this relationship just started, that's a pretty serious problem to me. Like if you
They have never we don't even know how long they've been together.
right, because we don't understand this timeline
Right.
as
And
we
then there was her whole thing about, oh, things changed once we moved in together, which doesn't make any sense because they moved in together before the relationship started.
yes.
Like, I just don't understand anything about the dynamic between these two.
All right, moving along. Dinner celebrating with Cal, Frank, Edna, Jacob, Lola, and Sully. Well, Sully's not there initially. He comes in. He's a lot happier than he's been because he just had that phone call with Helen. He's
Right.
about to island, take a little adventure. Everything seems very well until Edna turns around and drops the salad. Now, everyone thinks that she's just being clumsy, but no, she's in fact gone blind. And and that's basically where the episode ends.
Yeah. She
She's
says, Frank,
blind.
help me. I can't see.
First of all, this is a very soap opera like ending to an episode. Second of all, it plays into the concerns that you express very elegantly about the symptoms of menopause and us making people think that perhaps they should be worried about their symptoms of menopause
Right.
because you can just suddenly go blind.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
problem with this is
yes,
she wasn't experiencing any symptoms that seemed weird or something she shouldn't be experiencing. She had
yes.
hot flashes and she had headaches a couple days a week. I have headaches like 5 days a week. Does that mean I'm about to fall down and die?
I hope not. It'd be a really lonely podcast if you're not here to do it. Are you going blind all of a sudden? Can you
I,
still
I
see?
don't I don't think so, but she didn't know until the moment it happened. So
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I'm with you. A lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, it's just a television show." I'm sorry, but media informs how we view reality.
right.
You know, people. it's the same problem I had with Under the Dome and the whole Junior and Angie thing. You got to be careful with your messaging. You can't spread the message that basically how Junior treated Angie is okay. It's not. Like, and I don't think that's what they're trying to say, but it's kind of what they insinuate with how they tell that story. And it's the same problem here. You're going to spread the message that normal menopause symptoms could lead to blindness all of a sudden.
Right.
Like, that's not a message you want to send to people.
Like she was experiencing what feels like typical symptoms.
Yeah.
She went to the doctor and he blew her off. And now
Uh-huh.
she's having a much more serious problem. I feel like this storyline would have carried itself a lot better if she was experiencing some bizarre symptoms and then they were trying and then the doctor was like not listening, right? But the
Yeah, I mean,
doctor
I
wasn't
definitely
behaving in a bad way. The doctor said you need to talk to your gyno. Like that
right.
is the right answer if you're trying to regulate menopause.
If you're trying to say that women's issues are not taken seriously, I'm fully behind that message because that is a problem in the medical field.
Right.
Like a lot of people, a lot of times, women's issues are not taken seriously. They are not listened to, especially if you're in the LGBTQ community or if you're trans. Your issues are, did I say it right?
You did.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, like, if you're in that community, your issues are taken even less seriously
Right.
because it's dismissed as mental illness or something along those lines. Like, that's a worthwhile message to send, but the way you're delivering that message, not so great.
Yeah, I mean that's what I had said when last time we had a
Yeah.
conversation about this was
Mm,
if their whole thing is to show how doctors are being dismissive of her, sure, I can follow that plot line. But if they're trying to show like, oh, she has hot flashes and headaches, suddenly she's in grave danger, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like it's what we should be presenting. And that's what they're
yeah.
presenting, apparently.
Yep.
I wish they had given us some weird other symptoms, like maybe she should have fainted at some point or, hinted about her eyes other than in this very episode.
Right. Yeah.
Hint about her eyes all season and go see an eye doctor and the eye doctor tell her she's fine. Like
Well, I mean,
something.
she did have trouble reading something, but that's just too
But that was
small.
just this episode. That was like an hour
Yeah.
ago.
Right. Yeah. So that's where the episode ends. We got 2 more episodes to go. Very curious as to how these 2 final episodes play out. It's
And
been a
as a
pretty
reminder, here in the US, CW is airing them 2 separate weeks.
right.
So you're not getting a 2 hour finale next week. I still see people online talking about that, like they're waiting for the 2 hour finale. And I keep trying to correct people so they don't get disappointed. That's not what's happening in the US. We're getting episode 9 on the 9th and episode 10 on the 16th.
All right. We would like to hear from you. What'd you think of this podcast? What'd you think of this episode? Stacie, can be reached at?
I can reach on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, the number of ways to do so, you can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join the Core Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.